Cup Series. Final practice about to get underway from Watkins Glen International. 40 drivers trying to find some speed as they will prepare for qualifying tomorrow afternoon. One of the interesting things about the first practice was Martin Truex Jr. was fastest, Denny Hamlin was second quickest, and then it was Casey Mears who was in the top three. Hello everyone, alongside Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, I'm Rick Allen. Jeff, will come to you and I'll say, is the road course a little bit of an equalizer as far as seeing Casey Mears in the top three in that first practice?
Well, I think if you're a really good road racer, then you can lean on that experience. You don't have to rely quite so much on the equipment as you would on an oval. So I think the road course does open some opportunities for guys that are really good road racers. Casey Mears is a really good road racer. So yeah, he can take advantage of that and try to have a good day on Sunday.
And then strategy, obviously, when a crew chief comes to a road course, you got to feel like you're pretty important here when you decide on what you're going to do with pit strategy.
Well, you have to, and pit strategy not only starts on Sunday, it's going to be very important in the race when you pit and how you stretch your fuel window, but really all weekend long. It's a really tough schedule for these crew chiefs. Both practices are today, and tomorrow's qualifying only. And the talk of the garage really is, what do you do with tires? This repaved racetrack has a bunch of grips, so Goodyear had to bring a pretty durable tire rig. So now, do you qualify on stickers, on scuffs, how many laps you want on your tires? Really, that is the big question and the strategy moving into qualifying tomorrow.
So we saw in the first practice that guys were turning their fastest laps 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 laps into a run. Is that going to be similar in this second practice? Are they going to be trying more of that, or will they be doing more qualifying runs?
Well, we expect race and qualifying runs. The real question I have in my mind is older tires seem to get better in the first practice. 78 Martin Truex Jr. ran very, very fast, and the rumor in the garage seems to be that those were multiple laps on his tires. But is that because of the tire, Jeff, or because of the track? As we see more cars on the racetrack and rubber putting down this new pavement, will that lend itself to a newer tire come tomorrow afternoon?
There's just a lot of questions that are yet to be answered. You know, we have this different tire, we have this different asphalt, it's throwing some dirt at these guys, so we really won't know. And what's going to be really interesting tomorrow when we do go qualifying is, remember, it's a timed session.
Right.
You can go out many, many times, and the strategy of when you go out, how many times you go out, that's going to be really interesting to see that play out.
And the practice getting underway. Let's go to Marty.
Well, you guys mentioned Martin Truex Jr., that fast lap in the first session. That was indeed, you got it right, Rick, on lap 13 on the same set of tires that entire first session. Meanwhile, his corporate teammate Denny Hamlin went out and made successive runs on sticker tires, scuffing those tires in for tomorrow. So that's the theory for Mike Wheeler. He's going to scuff a set, two sets actually, for tomorrow's qualifying session. And you've got pretty much one lap to get it done in for qualifying. I was talking to Cole Burns, the crew chief for Martin Truex Jr., and he said, listen, the way you have to tape up, you only have one lap. You'll have one lap each session, and that's it to get that qualifying lap in. So a lot of pressure on the driver, right, Jeff, to get it done on that one lap and make it perfect.
Yeah, well, it is a lot of pressure, but I wonder, you know, I still wonder if everybody is going to tape up enough just to run one lap. We'll see. I think the majority of the field will, because you have enough time to come in and cool the car down and take another run. But could someone not tape it up as much and run 2 laps and net out a better speed? I think ultimately you're going to be better coming in and cooling it off and making another run. It'll be interesting to see if somebody does try that strategy.
Well, I would expect we're going to have 40 interested crew chiefs and 30 some odd interested drivers, because there's a handful that's going to be taking part in Xfinity qualifying next. Remember, the same qualifying format, 2 sessions, open time limit, you can run multiple laps. So I think these Cup regulars are going to be watching the Xfinity qualifying later in the day to see how they approach qualifying.
We touched on the fact that the track was repaved. They finished in October of last year. It's the first complete repave since 1989. $4 million spent on the track, making it a little smoother surface. They also made a little bit wider rumble strips as you get into the inner loop or the bus stop. A lot of things went into making this an even better racetrack, and it was a phenomenal one to start with. But again, the repave now, they have a little harder tire. Goodyear brought a little bit harder tire, so we're seeing guys trying faster laps, 4 laps into their run.
And you know, it's not just the repave. I want to really give a lot of credit to Watkins Glen International. They have continued to improve this facility. This is a repave, but before that, it was a wall configuration right here between turn 1 and 2, where you see Martin Truex Jr. on the racetrack. It was different barriers along the facility. They've continued. They brought stands in a few years ago. Gave the fans better places to watch the races from. They've continued improvement. You see the 78 taking that hard right-hand corner, can go back on the access road doesn't have to run an entire cool-down lap.
And one of the very cool vantage points about this racetrack is at the end of this run right here, at the end of the bus stop, is where some of the spotters will be up on the spotter stand. And today, we have Parker Kligerman up there. Parker?
I'm up here with the spotters on the spotter stand, and you mentioned the interloop bus stop, that braking zone. Well, this is one of the hardest braking zones you'll experience, and also a great passing zone. So very crucial for these spotters to get a good angle at that braking zone. But as I come through the bus stop with this repave, and you mentioned maybe adjusting those curves, a big conversation amongst a lot of the drivers has been that exit curve, specifically on the inside of the bus stop, and how much it's become either larger or more aggressive as it ramps up to the center of it, and therefore how much of that curve you really use can really upset the race car. One thing I've noticed though since I've been down here and since we've had all the Xfinity car practice and also Sprint Cup practice is that it has laid rubber on there, and the drivers are getting more aggressive with how much of that curve they can use. But it's continually been a topic of how much of that curve can you get away with. You see the 34 there, Chris Buescher going through it, and Greg Biffle, and see the sparks behind him. How much of that you can get away with without unsettling the race car too much? So Parker, you're standing on top of the spotter stand, and you talk about the spotters and seeing the braking zone. Explain why that's so difficult. Jeff, it's a great point. The reason it's so difficult is the angle you have here, because the cars are coming directly at you instead of at an oval where you'd be basically looking at the side of the car. Therefore, you can see how far another car is up beside you or from beside the car you're looking at. When you're looking down the straightaway like this, you can't get that vantage point. So a lot of times, a spotter will tell you, hey, he's looking, or there's a car looking, or we think he's beside you, because you can't exactly know how far that car is up beside the other one as they come here into the interlude. And so when you come up the Essence, so you come to the top of the Essence, and you have that long back straightaway, then you go to the interlude. So if you're on that spotter stand and you see your car come off the interlude, and there's a car next to you already, that's an easy call. Hey, there's a car inside of you, outside of you. The problem comes in when the car behind you ducks out quickly, makes a move late into the interloop, and now the spotter, you can't tell if the guy is next to you or if he's just faking, trying to show the nose to make the driver make a mistake, and that's where the spotter gets in a tough spot. So the only thing he can say is looking at that point, but you don't really know as a spotter if the guy's next to him or not.
Well, the other thing is inside and outside, drivers left, drivers right. How do you communicate the information? Right, because when we talk about this racetrack, is inside always the inside of the corner? Is it always the left side of the car, which would be inside of an oval? When you use multiple spotters, and teams will use at least 2, maybe 3, possibly 4 spotters to go around this very spread out 2.5-mile road course, it's very important that they're consistent with the information and how it's delivered.
We spent a lot of time talking about the interlude, but turn 1 is so important because it's a passing zone. Look at Kyle Larson coming in there hot. He just tried to get in the corner a little bit too hard. Probably got it wheel hopping while he was still on the straightaway. Ended up spinning the car out. So no damage done. Obviously probably ate the tires up, but didn't hit anything. A lot of runoff there. No wall. Years and years ago, there used to be sand traps there. If the sand traps were still there, you'd have been stuck in that sand. Now there's asphalt. So again, you talk about all the changes at Watkins Glen, and that was one of the improvements that was made.
Thank goodness. Because with sand traps, Rick, there was no such thing as practice, because there was a car in the dirt every time you looked up.
Mark Truex Jr. once again at the top of the charts, the first one to break under 70 seconds for a lap.